What is going on, Hancock County? Mitch Gibson with the Inside Hancock County podcast, bringing you episode number 28. 27 was head coach at Mount Vernon High School, Mike Kirshner. I appreciate Mike again for taking time out of his busy day to come on the show last week. If you haven't checked that episode out, please make sure to go check it out. You can find it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and just about actually any podcast platform that you've got, thankfully, to the software that I upload all my podcasts to. So if you have any questions or concerns, you can't find anything or can't view it on a specific platform, let me know and I'll make sure to get it on there, make it more convenient for you guys. First off, before we get started, I wanted to thank REMAX Realty Group, Hart Sumeyer, Sumize, and Mark Dudley at REMAX for giving me the opportunity to put together an awesome studio inside their REMAX space. And then also thank you to our show sponsor, the Hope House Homeless Shelter and Hope House Thrift Store. You'll be able to see on this video all the deals that they've got going out Monday through Friday. So check out those deals. Go check out the Hope House Homeless Shelter. You can look it up, hopehouse.org, and find everything that they've got going on, deals over there, and like them and follow them on Facebook. So with that being said, going into episode 28 here with Devon Brown from Change Fitness again. Devon was on one of the earlier episodes this year. Kind of was one that kind of helped me leap and get this podcast started. So I appreciate him giving me the opportunity to have him on the show there. This time, with something that Devon's just went through, we've all been going through things throughout the year, whether that's things in life, things in business, things with family, your sport, whatever it is that you do, or we've all faced a lot of adversity to this year, and especially with the pandemic that we've had. So, no pun intended, we've all had to commit to change in some sort of fashion, whether it's your fitness, your work, business, whatever it is. And you talk about changing and changing yourself, changing your lifestyle to make it better for you and for the future of your family, for your job, whatever that may be. You faced a challenge the last couple of years where you might have gotten close to something, but you've came up a little bit short. I like to call it failure. I mean, you failed, but you let that failure make you work harder and achieve something that was a very big priority in your mind. That I'm going to get to this. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to step across that finish line and be proud of myself. And I think that's probably one of the most proud moments you've had of yourself in probably a few years. And I'll let you talk a little bit about that. So kind of give us a little bit of rundown, Devon, of your last year or even your last couple of years. From training to all the way to the Georgia Death Race that you just completed recently last month.
Okay, well, it's great to be back. It's great to be one of the originals and cycle back through. But yeah, it's been we all have those things that have hit our vocabulary at the beginning. That was pandemic or essential. Now we're starting to see that I'm seeing change a lot more. I've read a lot of books that are now hitting that as a big key, and that's kind of what we started our company on. But since we've seen or talked, the big change for me is I finished the Georgia Death Race. Super fantastic. Fourth time's a charm. This is the only race that had beaten me twice. It ended up beating me again. So we fourth time passed it. And I dare say probably the hardest conditions they've had. Normally it's in March, so you kind of prepare for that. I failed it 3 times in March. Normally it's about 70 miles, and it's a point-to-point course. So I've seen the front half of that several times, never the back half of that. And today's, in 2020 years ago, it figures. 2020, they changed the course, ended up a little bit shorter, so I had in the back of my head, man, I'm going to pass it, but it's not going to feel like a win. They did an out and back. So we did the first half where I failed 3 times. My nemesis, I had to do it twice in the same race. So it made it way more brutal. One of the taglines in that race is if you make it halfway, you can probably make the rest of it. I had never made it to halfway where I had enough time, so I don't know.
So now when you talk about this, and for those who don't know what the Georgia Death Race is, so kind of give a background. So there's a series of races you can do. I mean, we all see the Turkey 5Ks, we see the March of Dimes, you see the walks, you see those fundraising events, but you also see those the Tough Mudders of the world and whatnot. Kind of for those who aren't maybe in the fitness world or don't understand what those races are, kind of tell us what that consists of. You already said it was about 70-mile race. It's not just running down the road, correct? What does that all entail?
So Georgia Death Race, it is a trail race, so it's not an obstacle course race. There is another death race, the Spartan Death Race, that's a lot of people know of. But no, it's a trail race. It starts down in Blairsville, Georgia, right near the Appalachian Trail. You can't run many races on the Appalachian Trail because of all the permitting with federal grounds and all that stuff. But it's as near it as you can be and as long with it. So we basically just go up and down the mountains right there in Alabama, which I didn't even know that they were that dramatic, but it is the most elevation gain. So elevation gain, anytime you go uphill. When you go downhill, it doesn't count for anything. When you go back uphill, so if you run up and down your stairs 3 times, you have 3 flights of gain. It is the most elevation gain of any race east of the Mississippi.
Okay.
So we are basically only going up or down. There is not flat. It took me, our race this year ended up being about 65 miles, almost 20,000 feet of elevation gain. I wish I had something like, this mini Empire State Building.
Right.
But 20,000 feet of gain is just brutal, especially training here in Indiana. Indianapolis, our elevation gain in Indianapolis is 100 feet. The lowest, the highest point in Indianapolis is 100 feet.
Fun fact of the day, I did not know this.
So yeah, you could spend 24 hours just trying to get 20,000 feet in Indianapolis. That'd be near impossible. But it took me a little over 24 hours. Usually a race concludes at 24 hours, but this year was so rough. It was just devastating. So many people on it because of the gain. Usually it's 70 miles and about 12,000 feet of gain. This year it ended up being about 20 and 65. So we had about 8,000 more feet and 5 less miles. So they extended it an hour. We heard that out on the course, and so I just moseyed my butt on in because I knew at that point I had made it. So, but yeah, it's you have to carry your stuff. COVID impacts. We used to have crew that went on all our spots. This time they're pretty limited. So usually there's 300 plus racers that show up. We showed up with about 100, 150, wow. I think. So in a race that big, the thing is you're by yourself. You're by yourself for long stretches, and this goes through the night. So you're running all night through the pitch black. You have to wear a headlamp and all that. But like crazy things in the fall, it's hibernation time. There's bears. I didn't run across the bear, but they now allow dogs to run these bears up trees, which I don't know anything about. But like you heard bloodhounds all over the place
chasing these bears,
and you're like, oh yeah, that means a bear's right next to me.
Can't wait to keep running forward.
Yeah. So I mean, just little things like that. Like it just was like it just never had been done. Or the leaves fall down. This is a brutal race, and when we do it in March, it's clean.
Yeah, you can see the ground.
And now there's leaves everywhere. So like there's just little bombs. Ankle bombs every little bit.
You think you're gonna get trapped from a trap in there or something? You step in.
Yeah.
But you talk about, speaking of stepping in, and I saw videos of you, and you kind of scared everybody for a little bit of time because our Greater Greenfield Independent Networking Group, we were meeting, and we go, what did he finish? We haven't seen, because you said signing off, we'll let you know one way or the other how it went. 24 hours came, we're like, is he all right? 48 hours came, we're like, is he all right? And I forget who it was, but someone, maybe the guy that went down there to run it with you.
Yeah, it's Steve Klein. I know his wife made a post.
Yeah, she made a post, and so I sent everybody a text, I go, he's alive, like he's all good. And he finished. So it was so cool to see, just like, I know I'm proud as hell for you, and I think that's amazing. And, for people, I think the big topic of conversation today here with what we've got going on. I know this isn't your typical usual episode, but always, with these shows, trying to bring positive information or something that can impact somebody that's listening or watching this episode. Failure. I mean, how you react to failure is a huge contributor to your success. I know we've talked about this just personally before, but, failing not just once, twice, 3 times, failing that many times can really tread on somebody's back and affect the way that they live. So how did you deal with that failure on a year-to-year basis to put you in a situation to, fly past that adversity that you went through?
Yeah, I probably, it's one of those things in my business I talk a lot about, and we push and I help clients with, and we look at their past failures and we create a new course to go past them. But I personally probably didn't give enough bearing to that. I realized, so after the race finished, I'm just dead to the world trying to eat food and go back to sleep.
Right.
And it's not, I don't carry a phone anymore. Like, I'm not as accessible on social media. So we didn't have that up, but afterwards I took time to kind of decompress from it, and I started writing a blog. We just added a blog onto our fitness website, and in order to, instead of just writing, well, I finished, here's all the things I got from it, I decided to go back to the very first year and the lessons I kind of learned. So one post became 4 posts over a few weeks' time. And it really surprised me how much 2018, like, that year just smashed me. It devastated me. And I knew I was upset, but I had a lot of questions and a lot of doubt on my personal fitness, my philosophies, my business acumen, my ability to raise my kids. Like, just from failing this one race, it had me questioning tons of stuff, and I kind of hid from that. And it wasn't until, I'm lucky and I'm fortunate I've had repeat chances at the race. I've been able to set up the time and want to take on the adventure again. But 2019, I got a little further, and that was a win. I felt I was on the right track again. And then this year, when everything changed, the first thing that happened in March, like, we literally were going to race the week before, still was on.
Wow.
And then it got canceled a few days. Like, we're loading up our truck type setting, and they canceled it. And my first thought was, are you kidding me? Like, I'm on a redemption story. Doesn't God know that I'm redeeming right now? How could this happen? And I'm not going to get it. And then it was announced that it could happen in the fall, and I kind of licked my wounds again. Like, I almost felt I had lost in March, just not having it.
Race,
So I dropped off and kind of got out, and then March got triggered back in. My training partner, Steve Klein, like, we got back into that thing. He was dealing with an injury, but I was hitting a good block and really feeling it. And I'm like, you know what? Like, that's just what this year is. We've constantly had these little failures, but honestly, it's not any different than any other year. We're collectively under one thing. But every year we have a setback in your job, disagreement with your family, money, your washer and dryer blow up and there's $6,000 that you didn't expect. Like, we all have them, and they're pretty consistent. You may remember some more than others, but they're there all the time. So it kind of gave me a chance to reflect back on what I give my clients, and said, you know what? Like, that's constant, but I also need to be constantly winning against that. Like, I need to celebrate those things. So I went super excited, just happy to be there, getting a race, because most people didn't get a race this year. I have some clients that everything got canceled. They didn't have a chance to back up. But and writing all that stuff out, that was the true win for me. I finished. So it's great to have that storybook ending. But man, the growing from failing and being so low is where, like we were talking about earlier, my son has cross country national meet this weekend, and he's been grinding and pushing and grinding and pushing, and it hurts, and he's getting good enough for it to hurt. And that's where the coolest moment for me for Georgia was he saw me fail in 2018. He saw it shatter me, and I didn't even notice it, but he saw it shatter me. 2019, we didn't bring him along because I didn't have confidence I was going to finish. Like, didn't want to bring him to watch Dad get shattered again. Yeah. And so he had a basketball game. He didn't come with us this year either. But when I got home, we FaceTimed, and then I got home. Excuse me. The coolest thing was he's like, "Dad, you finished." I'm like, "Yeah, buddy. I finished. It is great." And without really saying much more than that, he just kind of curled my arms, and we just stayed on watching movies that night. But he would not leave my side because I think I was vulnerable with him early, and he saw failure and he saw how bad that hurts. But he also saw like the work. He got up with me several weeks at 5 a.m. Like, when I look back at my trip to finish the Georgia Death Race, had an extremely low for me.
Right.
But man, on that way to climb back up, it's had some of the coolest highs too. Like, how many 8-year-olds, wake up at 5 a.m. to work out with their dad?
Probably none.
Yes, he wants to get better. He wants to get better at basketball. He wants to get better at cross country. But he was also doing that because he felt obligated to me. We share our goals. We share his goals. And
he's proud of you. I mean, you have your kids are not. I'm a huge believer in, like, your kids are more proud of you than you think they really are. They may not say it. They may not even understand what it means. But like Brooklyn the other day, she's been going through this little crying stage that she thinks everyone's mad. Like, she's like, I've been a good girl today. I was like, I'm not saying that. I'm just telling, hey, slow down. Let's just listen a little bit. And then, you try to lower your voice, and she's like, Daddy, she goes, thank you for not. I'm like, well, you're proud of me for not raising my voice, but you still didn't let, you kind of get what I'm saying. The kids are they're a lot more proud of you when you're successful and when you're happy and you're showing, that joy, and especially with someone that shares that connection and bond with you in the fitness world. And for being an 8-year-old the way he is, I mean, heck, the kid's probably a better athlete than I am now. I mean, probably go out and run farther than I can and not pass out afterwards. But
we need to have that video series. We'll have the Mitch versus 8-year-olds.
That would actually be kind of funny.
Instead of, are you smarter than a 5th grader, we're gonna do Mitch. Is Mitch more athletic than an 8-year-old?
But the funny thing is too is, like, the dude, he's so competitive. Like, I think I would get in an argument with him. Like, I just feel like we're so competitive. Like, all right, you want to race? He's the one that, like, I'll joke around with him. Like, so Devon coached Brooklyn, or, my 5-year-old daughter, in soccer. And Devon's son would come up like, you want to go? You want to race? You want to play me in soccer? And, he was fearless, and you gotta love it. And then, especially when you see it, it's like, that's my son. Like, he's tries to be like Dad and makes you happy and smile. And he's not afraid of, to endure pain. And I think that's with you. You're not either. Like, push through it. Whether you might be in pain thinking about it, or you might be in pain afterwards, but it's only going to take you 10 minutes to finish that, or it's only going to take you 10 minutes to do this, or an hour to do this. Go do it, and let's work on recovery afterwards. You, in the sense of running that 24-hour race or going through that Georgia Death race, your feet were brutally hurting, correct?
Oh, yeah.
What was that feeling like, and how long were you recovering from that?
Yeah, well, so, like, during the race, I went through 3 pairs of shoes. I run in a pretty, what we call a minimal shoe in our world, very thin.
Is that what you got on right now?
Yeah, like, I've got my Ninja shoes. They're super, for the video viewers here, super flexible. There's not much padding. You can feel everything. I like it because I can feel things and I can respond. But over time, your feet start to swell. The rocks underneath you start to not just be uncomfortable, they start to really hurt. So then I go to a thicker and thicker shoe. I use Ultra. They're running shoes. I love them because they're 0 drop, but they have graduated thickness. So I put on, after my first marathon, I put on a pair that's a little thicker. And then after my second marathon, I put on another pair that's a little thicker and finish with them. But yeah, I mean, you get that kind of race is a battle of attrition. You're gonna hurt at some point. You're gonna have a bad headspace. You're gonna be hungry. You're gonna need to use the restroom. You're gonna need to do these things. The worst you can do, it's a good synonym for life, because it's not gonna be the same thing. It's never, fitness, we start here and we see down here later where we've elevated. Mm-hmm. But it's really it's more like the stock market where there's jags up and down. You can say it grew the last year, but it's really peaks and valleys all the time. Same thing with that kind of thing is, your foot, like at one point, I was worried about blisters on my feet, and I used, toe socks and blister cream and everything to stop it. But your brain gets fixated on, man, I think I got a blister there, and you think about that for the next 5 miles. Well, then while you're thinking about that, you trip on a stick or a rock, and immediately your brain quits thinking about that blister that may be there. And now you're like, my toe hurts because I stubbed it on this rock, and well, now I'm worried about that. Or man, my pack is chafing me on the neck. So when I look back, I actually have learned to take a little joy in those difference in pains, because when you're worrying about chafing on your neck, you're no longer focused on your toe. Toe's in the same spot. It either has a blister or it doesn't. But you get these different things that you can put your perspective on, and it's not about being super happy and ignoring it all, but like enjoy those small things even when they're uncomfortable, because it helps other things.
Yeah. It might help others too.
Yeah, well, I love going to aid stations. Aid stations in my world, I try to blitz through them. Like, they have food and everything, I grab it down, I gobble it, and I'm eating, I'm gonna go. Because like with life, there's a lot of people that their target is the aid station. My target's the end. Aid stations are along the way. But when they get to the aid station, they take off their shoes, they start sulking about the things, like it becomes this big pit of misery. And then like before you know it, you have 5 or 6 racers all sitting around each other talking about how bad their bodies are. And that's hard to get out of. So I love talking with people on the trail. There's multiple times you make your best friend for the next 2 miles while you're talking on something. And you can share in misery while you're going, or you can share in happiness, but like not stop moving, because I think that's so much in like life. We have something bad happen to us and we want everybody to chip in and tell it, like, great, what happened bad during COVID for you? And there's real things that are bad, but a lot of it is shared perspective. And that's what I refused in this race, is to be like, I'm not gonna, it's hard enough for myself to get through it. I'm not gonna collectively pull anything down with anybody. So aid stations, I smiled, often didn't talk, through food in my mouth, and went on. And the only thing I really stopped to do is change shoes when I had the chance. So my feet are still now they're shedding skin. So the kind of disgusting side, I got through, no major blisters, no major issues. I'm probably gonna lose a toenail or two.
No big deal.
Yeah, nothing super painful. But now again, your body. So my ramp up to it, I ran barefoot on my treadmill. I ran lots of trail mileage. I got my feet wet. I got my feet dry, trying to get them ready for whatever the conditions were. And so my skin hardened around that.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, what do you think? Like, it wasn't necessarily callous. It just started getting thicker, responded to those changes. Now I haven't ran in about a month. I ran a little 5 mile the other day, and it's Georgia was about a month ago. But now I've noticed my skin started to come off, and I don't think it's from damage. I think it's literally coming off because it's like, hey, you no longer need this.
Right.
Like, you're telling me the stimulus isn't there. And again, it kind of back with life, that's the same thing. Like, you put yourself out there, and you continually have this kind of stressor or the situation, and you respond to it, and it's built up. So if you don't have time, maybe you're short with your kids at night, and then they respond off of that. Or if you are focusing on, having good relationships, you always tell your kids. Right now, my biggest thing is I try to see them to sleep every night. Like, be one of the last things that they see and one of the first things in the morning. That grows a certain response. Now you either nurture it, or you let it be like the dead skin and slough off and replace it with something else.
Well, and that, you talked about like enduring the pain, and you just had the success. I mean, you just reached a peak of success that has killed you and pushed you down for the last 3 years. Now that you've had that success, I mean, we all have our next step. Or
what's next?
What's next?
Yeah, what's next?
What's next?
Yeah.
What's the next?
Well, you reframe it. So last month I really paid attention. My second grader's running career and basketball stuff, so we've really helped. But yeah, his same thing. He's like, now what, Dad? And I don't want to. With health and fitness, you don't always have to go longer and farther to find yourself. I think it's awesome when somebody runs their first 5K, or they do it faster. Some people never go beyond a 5K, and some people are like, oh, you never run further. No, like running a 15-minute 5K to me is like most painful. I would not want to be on fire for 15 minutes. I'd rather go 24 hours out in the woods. But yeah, so we kind of recalibrated and looked for next year what our big thing was. I decided to go a little bit longer. I have 2 A races. I have one in August, which is my first attempt at 100 miles.
Oh, wow.
We're going to do that out in Utah for the Ute 100. Elevation, we start at a really high elevation. I think we're at like 12,000, 14,000 feet, something like that. But as far as up and down, it's not Georgia. I didn't want to go back. Like, my wife's like, why don't you go back and do Georgia again? Do the regular race. Maybe they'll have the regular race, not the COVID version next year. Do you want to do that? I'm like, no, I don't. The ups and downs aren't of an interest to me.
Right.
So I'm going to go do my first 100 miler. That's supposed to be beautiful. And then my big one is in May. It's called the Trans Am Tri 945. And it's roughly, when they originally made it, it was about 945 miles. I think it's closer to 1,000 now. 1,000-mile triathlon.
Oh, wow.
So you've got 9 days of the official finisher. It starts in Florida. It's like 16-mile swim, 800 miles on a bike, and then 250-ish miles on your feet. Those are mega mileage. I've never been close to that. I did a 300-mile triathlon in Florida last year. So that blows my mind about the kind of thing.
Bigger and better out there.
Yeah, but honestly, the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is when I did the 3-day tri in Florida, my dad came along as my pit crew.
That's cool.
So we went across Florida, and he was there every night. He was there at several pit stops to just check in with me. He rode my truck across there, and so we're already setting that out as he's gonna be my pit crew, and that'll be the fun thing for me to have that experience. So I'm gonna go out and suffer. But I know at the end of it, I'm going to have a better relationship with my dad, which is probably the cooler point anyway.
No, that's more important.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day.
That's that's what I want for my kids. My kids are good athletes, but I don't have a phenom. I don't have the next, Usain Bolt or LeBron James or anything like that. They work hard. They're good locally, but chances are, genetically, they're not going to grow and have that opportunity. Now, that doesn't mean that they should work any less, that they shouldn't try any harder. I have a good perspective or balance of what that is, but what I want them to get from it is, sacrifice, having to work for your goals, things that happen in the workplace. Like, I want them to know that sometimes you got to work late, sometimes you got to get up early. If you do that all the time, you'll be injured.
Yep.
So, they're learning those now, and that's what I love youth sports and health and fitness for, is like that. And I hope it gives us a relationship. We had this weekend, my son, I think my son's favorite thing, he PR'd by 18 seconds. I shared with you, it's like the 4th fastest in Indiana, top 75 in the nation. But the coolest thing that he will remember is when he PR'd, we made a deal. If he either came in top 20 or he PR'd, I'd buy him the sweatshirt. They had a tie-dyed sweatshirt, which I don't like tie-dye, whatever, but it has the race on the front and has all your names on the back, and that's his first race shirt.
That's cool.
And before he came in, I was like, look, I don't need to punish you. If you want the shirt, I will pay half of it. He earns his own money through allowance. You pay half of it and we'll buy the shirt. But if you want a chance to do this, here's a thing based on you and a thing based on your race. You have 2 shots at this. And when he finished that finish line, the kid just died.
He was happier than hell.
Oh yeah, he's like, "Where's my sweatshirt?" And I slept in it last night. He wore it all the way back. He's wearing it at school today. Can't wait to show off his friends. And to me, that's the coolest thing, is because, somebody on the outside looking in may go, "Well, it's him being boastful." I look at that as it's something that he worked his tail off for. He's proud. And oh, by the way, he likes to share with his friends that come run and do things with him. So he's trying to pull people on board. That to me is great. $85 for a sweatshirt.
First off, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's nothing special. It just happens to be the site logo. But to him, man, he got his shirt a size too large.
So he could wear it.
So that he could, he was already thinking ahead. He's like, my dad doesn't give me everything. So I'm gonna have this.
That's cool.
And he's a fun kid. So
yeah, I do love the kid's personalities. He's one of a kind. This personality's only those type of personalities. If you haven't met Devon's son, he's a hoot. He's got the personality of one of a kind. It's unmatched. But no, the apple don't fall far from the tree either.
Well, thanks.
So.
We owe it a lot to his mom. His mom's, she does a great job at raising him. We always laugh that, she puts in the hard work. I get to go do the fun work. But yeah, I'm blessed that they can do things athletically and academically. But even at that, if they weren't, that doesn't change in our house. Our kids have different talents, and we don't play those talents all the time. We just ask that you work hard. Gaby had a good soccer year, but the kid can barely, he's 2 left feet on most things.
He's hysterical.
He'll be the class clown. and we just nurture what his thing is. But we make them go work for it. Like they have to. Gabriel did his first duathlon this year for a canceled event.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, it got canceled, and he had put in the work, so we made it ourselves. He isn't. Dom's fast. Dom is a good fast kid. Gabe isn't, but Gabe.
It's hard nosed.
Well, his achievement was there. He loves to go collect. We always laugh at it. If anybody gets in Pokemon, I'm a little past that age group, but we laugh. Dominic is the kind of kid that gets a Pokemon. He gets his one Pokemon and he keeps growing it, and it becomes the best one Pokemon. So he takes it up and he makes it evolve and does all that stuff. Gabriel likes to collect them all. He doesn't care if they're good or not. He just wants to do everything. So he got his soccer medal. And he's like, this might be the last time I ever play soccer because I got a medal now. He wanted to do running.
The next thing.
Yeah, he wanted to do running. The other day he's like, I might do wrestling. I'm like, oh, you really want to do wrestling? And he goes, yeah, their medal's different. I was like, okay, but
because the medal's different.
Yeah, but that's cool. We nurture that thing. Again, we try to be balanced enough as parents that even with the success, that can be gone in a minute.
Absolutely.
I want the real things, the backbone. Did they learn how to work hard? Did they learn how to set goals? And did they hold themselves accountable? Those are the things. I could care less if it's A's, B's, or C's. Whatever. Work to your potential. If it was 4th place in the state or 104th place in the state, work towards your potential.
Correct. And that's what you do in your business and working with your clients. And kind of getting on that real quick, and then I'll let you go. I think I saw on Facebook you're running a $1 December or something like that. What's for those people who might be interested? I know we always get a couple. Everybody at the beginning of the year, their New Year's resolutions to drop 25 pounds and become more physically fit, and then come February, March, that goes away. So, what does $1 December look like, and what's some information for
We'll quick 2 things on that. Resolutions are great. I know they kind of got a negative thing over the last few years because they're hard to hit. Usually they're bad things to shoot at. So the clients that I like to work with or that I help with, usually we look for some kind of adventure for them to go on in the next year. And then training gets easy, whether that's a race, whether that's getting married. I had one guy that was going to start his own business. He was working a 40-hour job and he wanted to start his own business. So his adventure, he was going to put in 65 hours for the next 6 months to leave. He had to make his one business grow big enough to leave it. So it means a lot of all-nighters. So we had to work on his fitness so that his body could stand that. So those are cool. We look for somebody that wants to go on some kind of adventure, and then we tailor training around that. So we offered, this time of year is tough because of Christmas and all the expenses of holidays and that kind of stuff. So we're trying to help any one of our coaching programs. We're doing $1 for December. So $1 gets you set up for your first full month. We work with people live. You've worked with us before and came in what everybody thinks a personal trainer is. But we work with a lot of people virtually. So if anybody's, not here locally, we have our own custom fitness app that we design all your workouts. You still work with me individually. I set it up for you. So if you go to the gym, great, we have a workout for that. Right. If you only do it in your house and you're gonna lift milk jugs, we have one lady that put concrete in milk jugs. We made her little weights. That's cool. We set it all up. You still have the accountability end of it. So it's not where we're different. Apps, there's a lot of fitness apps that are great. You download the Fit Body whatever app for $25, and the thing with it though is it's just like a resolution. Right. If you don't have somebody continually checking in, driving, adapting, changing,
I promise you, he'll make it accountable.
So that's so it's a buck that I'll get started with any of our coaching programs. If anybody wants to take advantage of that, you can email me, give us a call, or do any of those. Meet us on Facebook. And
what's a good email for you?
So Devon, Devon at changeyourfitness.com. Email. Our Facebook is facebook.com/changeyourfitness for our business page, or you can find me at Devon Brown online.
Soon to be Instagram too, so be on the lookout for all of that stuff. I think a lot of people love what Devon's doing. I know all of his clients. He's got a great clientele, a lot of business owners locally in Hancock County. And I'm sure he'd be happy to share some of those names for you if you reached out and just kind of got to the field and see what it's like and what they can expect. But best thing I can tell you is just find something that you want to become better at, and he'll help you get there. And that's the way. That's
2021 should be the year of change. Like that, we just went through this collective thing. We belly ached. We pulled ourselves out. Some people are still belly aching, but like 2021 is a fresh start for a lot of us. Change is hard, but change is fun.
Yep.
So,
and usually that changes for something good.
Yeah.
So.
Very rarely, yeah. We slide. We don't change into negative stuff. We slide into them. You know, you gain 5 pounds because you've not paid attention to your nutrition. You let your bills pile up on you because you've ignored them. Change is a catalyst. You have to intentionally go after it. So that's change has typically, it's still hard, but a positive connotation to it. And that's what we want is people that want to change. Great. What do you want to change into? Do you want to change into a mountain hiking billy goat? Do you want to change into a business executive? Whatever. Like,
yeah, there's two ways. There's two things that change when we're seeing the change of some change that we can't control that we're forced to change with, like the pandemic and learning technology. It's like, hey, you have to work from home. You don't have a choice but to learn this. But there's also that change, like you said, that you want to become better at something and you want to change yourself. So I like the word change a lot, and the way you utilize it in your business and your day-to-day activities. Pretty unique and pretty cool. Really good branding and brand awareness of what you guys are behind. So, Devon, I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Again, thanks for everybody. Appreciate you guys tuning into the show and listening to Devon's success. Stay tuned. I'll have this out by Wednesday next week. I know we're going into Christmas, so I will not be having a video during the week of Christmas. We'll get back up on it the 1st of January, so have about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks break of no episodes, but I'll continue to put content out for you. Check out this episode as we go into Christmas. Kind of get you some New Year's resolutions. Go give Devon a call and see what he can do to put you in a better situation going into the 2021, 2022 year and many years to come. Once again, thank you to REMAX for allowing me to put the studio in the office right here off of State Road 9 in the REMAX Realty Group Studios. And also thanks to Andrea Mallory and her staff and team over at the Hope House Thrift Store for becoming one of our show sponsors for this lovely podcast we've got going on here in Hancock County. So Devon, thanks again for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Look forward to seeing what the future holds for you and for us and for the whole entire fitness community and world. So look for some change on Change Fitness coming soon. And if you guys ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us. We're here to help. We're to change the way of life and also change the ways that you look and endure your future success. So on that behalf, always remember that you can make a difference in Hancock County. We'll check you out next time, and don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Have a good day.